Good afternoon. I would like to start this presentation with a little story. Now, in September this year, I started in a new position at the same place I used to work before, which is the Technical University of Denmark. I thought that I was going to work within the same division I used to. So when I entered the building, I went straight to the two touch points that I thought were the ones where I should go, because I had been invited for welcome breakfast. So I go to these two touch points, these two meeting rooms where we used to have breakfast when I was in my old position, and they're empty. So next thing I do is, okay, there is another touch point, which is usually quite important on this floor of the building, and that's the coffee machine. So I go to this coffee machine, and I find what I thought would be my secretary of reference, and I asked her, "Hi Lisbeth, I'm looking for the welcome breakfast, where should I go?" And she told me that she had no idea, because in the meanwhile she had changed groups and my division was not the same anymore. She couldn't help me. What I did notice was that right behind me was my head of department, and that's the boss of my boss, very important boss. And he heard the whole conversation, and he was like, "Oh, I don't know where your breakfast is, but I sure would like to know. I would like to have breakfast as well." And on one hand, I was a bit worried because I had started my first day in a new position in not such a good way by showing up unprepared. On the other hand, I found out that that particular touch point, that coffee machine, was very crucial in our department because it was right in front of my head of department's office, and it was where all the colleagues would go to get the good coffee. Now, I don't drink coffee, but I know that if I want to have a casual encounter with my head of department, going to that coffee machine is a good place to start. So touch points are a very important thing for both the customers and the facility managers. We have heard about it today in the previous presentation, and especially Niklas talked a lot about them. And they are important for companies because they are the point of contact that the company has with the customers. In the picture you can see an image of the newest Lego store in London, where what they've done is actually build a collection of touch points for the customers to move around the shop. They have a pick and build wall where you can go and collect your Lego bricks, just as you would do with candies. And then they have this mosaic maker where you go in, sit down, take a picture of yourself, like you would do in one of these automatic machines, and then they would ship home a puzzle or a Lego brick box so that you can compose your own portrait at home. Touch points are also important because they are the way the customers get to know our company and experience it. So companies or facility managers are doing a lot of things, such as Nordea, to find out what is the best way to deal with our customers through the touch points. And they build something like this. This is just an example of a customer journey, just as the one that we saw before from Nordea, where Lego has tried to map the journey of one of the corporate customers from London to the US to one of their offices. And what they wanted to do here is see, okay, what is this corporate customer going to go through from when he leaves home and arrives at the airport to when he comes to us? And how can we make that experience more pleasurable? Where can we actually change something about this? In 2016, Professor Clayton Christensen published a book and a series of articles with a new theory, and he called it the jobs to be done theory. He has been working for over 20 years on this. And what the theory really says is that when you're dealing with innovation, the only thing that makes a difference between your innovation being a success or not is the fact that you know your customers really well. And he asked 3 questions, or he proposed 3 questions for innovators to use when they're trying to develop their new products and services. The first one is, what job is your customer hiring your product to do? The second one is, what are the circumstances in which your customer is hiring your product for that particular job? And the third one is, what is the connection between the functional, the social, and the emotional cues? So what Professor Christensen is telling us is that it doesn't matter so much how disruptive our innovations are, but rather how good do we know our customers. And touchpoints, especially in FM, can be used to actually get to know our customers and improve the way we serve them. When we deal with FM, however, and with FM innovation, as you all know, we don't only have one customer. We have 3 sets of very distinct customers. We have the clients, so the overall organization. We have the customers, the facility management units that deal with the external providers. And then we have the end user, the employees of the client organization who eventually receive the services. And touch points are usually directly linked to the end users, as we heard before. But when we're dealing with facility management innovation, we also need to keep in mind that we have a client organization, and that's actually also very important to consider. So how can we use these touch points to both serve our end users and our whole organization by innovating FM? This is one of the most important items in Danish work life, the coffee machine. And this is the Mocha Master. I don't know how popular this is outside of Denmark. But the Danish people are some of the highest consumers of coffee in the world. And this is what we have in our own kitchen at the university. You find a lot of these machines in Danish universities. And it basically makes filter coffee. Depending on how good you are in using the machine, you get a better or worse coffee. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because in Denmark, whether you have good or bad coffee can actually make a difference on whether you're a good or a bad employers. And in universities, that's also a very big deal. Now, we recently had a moving in our department. And one of the first things, or the major things that my colleagues were worried about was, are we going to get access to the good coffee machine? Which is this one. It's the one where I met my head of department on the first morning. And for the people who know a bit more about coffee, this is actually just instant coffee, but it's packaged in a nicer way, and apparently the coffee tastes better. And you can also place it in an environment like this. This picture has been taken in one of the consulting companies in Denmark, and they have this very awesome coffee area, or lounge coffee area, which is very popular, where they have 2 nice espresso machines, and they have a space that facilitates their employees in being together and spending time together. So we have 3 different coffee machines. And if we think about the questions that Professor Christensen tells us to ask about our customer, they are meant for 3 very different types of job. You go to this, or we go to this coffee machine when you want to get a quick cup of coffee, bring it back to your office, close the door again, and I don't want to talk to anybody, I'm in writing mode. You go to this machine when you want to drink a good coffee, and perhaps when you want to meet the head of department and try to save the situation you created on the first day. We also have an area like this. It's actually in our innovation hub of the university. So it's a place where the university meets the business. And there they have created a very nice espresso lounge, which is much fancier and it's much nicer to be at. So you go there when you want to spend a little bit more time. You want maybe to have a longer break. You want to discuss something in a relaxed atmosphere. Maybe you have some partners from the industry that you want to talk to, and then you take them to this nice coffee area for a conversation. But when we're talking about facility management, we also have facilities like this one. This is a production facility at Nilfisk, which is a manufacturer of cleaning machines. And they have 2 very distinct type of end users. They have the blue-collar workers who work in this type of facilities, and then they have the white-collar workers who work in the normal offices, such as quite similar to the ones we have at the university as well. Now, when they need to have lunch, when Nilfisk is planning how do we provide lunch for our employees, they need to keep in mind they have these 2 different types of end users. The blue-collar workers are actually working on a contract that does not include their lunch break. Meaning that then they want to have lunch, they need to be in and out as fast as possible because they don't want to waste time there. In Denmark, it's really important that you leave the office on time so you can be with your family in the afternoon. So for them, queuing up in the canteen is actually a huge problem. But when we are talking about the white-collar workers in the offices, having a queue in a canteen can actually be a dedicated choice from the facility managers to ensure that there is more creativity, there is more collaboration, there is interactions, that people are talking. Maybe someone is talking about a problem they have with a colleague and someone behind them says, oh, look, we have had the same problem the other day. This is how we solved it. So when you're working with facility management innovations, such as how do we innovate our canteen or our catering services, keeping in mind that you have two different types of end users might help you in supporting not only the end users themselves, but also the overall organization. Because you can support the innovativeness and the creativity and the performance of the organization as a whole by creating a touch point that supports that. And there is a lot of research showing that queuing up for specific workers in specific circumstances is actually really, really good. Such as having a shared office or a shared canteen space where people sit together, regardless of their activities. This is an example from a company that I worked with during my PhD. It's Sony, and it's their activity-based floor in Lund. And they have done, while they were redesigning their facility management and their facilities, they actually applied this idea of distinguishing between different types of users and distinguishing between the job that the facility services had to make, the circumstances in which their end users had to make these jobs, and the different functional, social, and emotional cues. So they have designed activity-based floors for some of the employees, the ones that were responsible of marketing and HR and management in general, where employees could choose to sit in a specific area depending on the activity they had to take part in. And they deliberately only put one coffee machine per floor so that people would have to queue up and maybe talk to each other. On the other hand, they also have in the same facility research and development with engineers that are working on software and hardware. And in those cases, this type of touch points do not work very well. So they didn't use activity-based seating. So when we work with facility management and facility management innovation, we are actually, as facility managers, supporting the interaction between our end users. And we are supporting our client organization as well as our employees. So to keep both things together, we can use the touch point in a smart way so that we're both supporting the specific activities of the employees, but also the innovativeness of the organization. This is a picture from one of our most innovative spaces at the university. It's called the Sky Lab, and it's a building where we have different touch points for different type of users. Here you can see a meeting room and some study area. On the ground floor, behind the yellow room, you can see where the students meet up and can have coffees. On the left-hand side, you can see there is a meeting room and teaching room facility. And we even have workshops in there, where the students can actually work on their projects, on the more engineering or on the more technical and production-based processes or projects. So in these facilities, all different types of touch points are combined and can actually be adapted to the different needs and expectations of both the students, the researchers and lecturers, but it's also serving to the common goal and vision of the university as a whole, which is to be innovative, to be on the front edge, and to support the students in actually working with spin-off and working with startups and creating their own companies. So as facility managers, we support interactions, and by doing that, we can actually also support the innovation of our organization. So we can both have facility management innovations that are successful and support the innovation of the client organization. So how well do you understand your customers? With this question, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you.